So, hello friends, in our today's discussion on the method of observation and data collection, we will talk about three different techniques, okay, that is content analysis, semantic differential and Q methodology in the and their use in the research. The first method is the content analysis. So, till now methods of observation and data collection, we are mostly talking about the collecting information from the respondent, either the indirect way like observation or directly asking the questions like using an interview or using a particular questionnaire. Okay. Today, we will talk about a different method where instead of asking a particular person about his opinion, about his psychological position, okay, we used to analyze their communication, okay, their spontaneous communication or maybe certain other form of the communication to find meaning into different psychological aspect. Okay. And this process is known as the content analysis. So, what content analysis is? So, it is a process of studying and analyzing communication in a systematic, objective and quantitative manner to measure different variables. Okay. So, what are the variables? Okay. So, we can actually by using the content analysis, we can find out the relative emphasis or frequency of various communication phenomena like propaganda, trend, style, change in the content, change in personality, change in readability. Okay. So, all these things can be actually assessed through the process of the content analysis. The most important aspect of the content analysis is this is general applicability, and also you need not to depend on the willingness of the respondent to provide you the required information for your research. So, what we analyze in the content analysis? So, we analyze the communication, what included in the communication. It may be letter, it may be articles, it may be newspaper articles, it may be news. Okay. So, it may be a library record, it may be a book, it may be autobiography, okay, it may be reports, okay, any form of the written communication or maybe the speeches, okay, given by the different personality that can be taken up, okay, for the content analysis. So, in the process of the content analysis, okay, we generally analyze the 5 important unit. What are those? Okay. The first one is the word. So, it is the smallest unit of the analysis. What else we can analyze? We can look into the themes. Okay. So, themes are generally short sentences or proposition about something. So, it may be character or space and time measure. Now, in case of the social science research, this character and space and time measure, those are not the required unit of the or not the usual unit of analysis. It mostly used in case of the literature research. And the another most useful unit for analysis in case of our social and behavioral research is the items. So, items is that whole collection of the whole production. It may be an whole news article, it may be a speech by our Prime Minister. Okay. So, those things basically falls under the item that can also be taken for the analysis under this particular process. So, what are the steps which involved in the content analysis process? Okay. So, generally it start with the establishment of the type of the analysis. So, there are a number of typology in case of the content analysis also. We will come to that particular part in the next slide. Okay. And after establishing that the which type of analysis you want, okay, so generally you must have a piece of the communication. Okay. And this, if you have a number of this particular article, if you take as an example of the piece of communication, so you have to categorize them according to the need of your research. Okay. And after that, so you have to relate or identify the different, if it is the words, so you have to identify the words. If it is the you are looking for a theme for the analysis, you have to identify that particular aspect. Okay. And then you have to find the relationship between the concept. Okay. And for identifying those relationship, you need to code the data. Okay. So, these particular part are actually dependent on each other. You code the data and according to your need of the research, okay, you find out relationship based on these numerals you assigned for those particular part which you are trying to analyze. Okay. And then it generally follows the statistical analysis and the proper representation of the data, either using numerical form or the any graphical form. Okay. So, now this particular process I was talking about it is, so what about the actual steps, okay, which generally, so we will try to take a look into it through using an example. Okay. So, before that, so I told that the first thing you have to establish that which type of content analysis you want. Okay. So, there may be different other type also. So, here I represented the 3 type, which is known as the conventional content analysis, directed content analysis and summative content analysis. Okay. So, mostly used is the conventional content analysis and the summative content analysis. Okay. So, in case of the conventional content analysis, we generally start our study with the observation, whereas in case of the summative content analysis, we start with the keywords. Okay. And then you generally define the codes or the keywords, and you generally proceed with the further analysis. Okay. Like in case of the conventional content analysis, the codes are defined during the data analysis, but when you come to the summative one, the codes are defined beforehand, okay, or it may be defined at the during the this process also. Okay. Like in case of the conventional content analysis, codes are generally derived from the data, whereas if you take it the directed content analysis, it is mostly the codes are derived from the theories. Okay. Whereas in case of the summative content analysis, okay, so these are basically derived from the previous empirical research or the interest of the interviewer. Okay. So, those are the small differences between the different type of content analysis, but our focus is on that how to carry this out, this content analysis, what are the actual steps involved. Okay. So, we will look into the practical or the steps which you need if you want to do a content analysis. Mostly here I will explain the summative one. Okay. So, the steps are almost similar, okay, in except the how you, from where you derive the code, when you do the coding, like that. Okay. So, like if you take the summative content analysis, what will be the first step? Okay, that first step is the identify the keywords, okay, because it started with the identification of the keywords. Okay. And how to identify the keywords? Okay. So, you can carry out a focus group interview with the expert, okay, and come up with the appropriate keywords, okay, when you are trying to quantify, which you trying to quantify in the articles. Okay. So, now in this particular aspect, along with the identification of the keyword, it also involved the identification of the communication pieces. Here may be the articles you want to include in your research. Like here the example I constructed on the how the media, may be the newspaper, portray the different mental illness or mental diseases, okay, through the content analysis process. Okay. So, the content analysis was carried out, okay, to find out that how the mainstream media or maybe the written media, here maybe that is the newspaper, portray the different mental illness, because you know the people have a differential attitude towards the mental illness. Like if you take the example of the India, most of the mental illness was even not recognized. Okay. So, and as a avenue for the mind makeup of the common people, okay, media play a very important role. Okay. So, what about looking to the portrayal of this mental illness by the media? Okay, that can be taken up through the content analysis process, and I explained it here in detail. Okay. So, now the first one is the identifying the keywords, okay, because maybe, okay, so you can use the English keywords also when you are looking for your regional media. Okay. So, you have to find out the equivalent your regional language terms, okay, and that may be taken up from the expert, okay, mostly. Okay. And then this second one is the selection of the articles. So, now these keywords basically help you to select of the articles also, and also in the selection process the quality of the articles is also important. Okay. Like you are looking for the not the opinion pieces, you are maybe looking for the articles which you can classify as a based on the research data. Okay. Like here, okay, that's as the example I gave. Okay. So, this example from the study on the newspaper in the Malaysia. So, these keywords in the Malaysian terms was identified, okay, and the explanation in the English word was also included. Second part is the identify the occurrence of the keyword, that is the second step. Okay. So, Occurrence means the counted of the number of times these keywords appear throughout the selected articles. Maybe you selected the 50 articles which were published in the last 5 years in the maybe the 4 or 5 or 4 national newspaper, okay, which are related with this particular the mental illness. Okay. And now the next step is the simple step, you count the or you analyze the occurrence of those particular keywords. It is simple the frequency, okay, like these are the keywords or how many times in the national mainstream media it was appeared for last 5 years. Okay. So, that is the second step. Okay. And the next step is the application of the sentiment coding, that is for the primarily purpose of the comparing. Okay. So, what is sentiment coding? It is simply how the articles depicted the issues under the studies. So, here we are studying the mental illness. Okay. So, in this particular article or in this particular research, okay, so they use the 3 sentiment code. One is the negative tone, another is the positive tone, and then neutral tone. So, negative tone is that how this mental illness was associated with the different antisocial activities or social disruption or the social interruption act, okay, or caused which actually causes injury to them or the others. Okay. Positive tones are basically, okay, how this article, okay, or how this article portray this mental illness toward the good citizenship, well functioning of the society, okay, or potential improvement. Okay. So, those are the positive tone. Okay. And lastly, the neutral tone is which is not covered on this positive or negative one, those are classified under the neutral tone. Okay. So, after this the next step is after coding those particular information based on the sentiment coding, this one next is the identification of the alternative keywords. Okay. So, now this identification of the alternative keywords, okay, it is not a mandatory part, okay, but it is generally done in the content analysis. Okay. So, to actually ensure that any valuable data are not overlooked upon, it basically increase the richness of that particular analysis. Okay. And next step is the analysis of analysis and compare of the data. Okay. Like here the comparison point was set based on the different part of the articles, like they analyze the headline part, they analyze the article, they analyze the authors, okay, they analyze the expert. Okay. And on this particular sentimental coding, that is the negative tone, positive tone and natural tone, their frequency are calculated. Okay. Now, after calculation of all those frequency, you can use the statistical test, okay, to find out whether their distribution or their trend. Okay. So, those are the, like if you take the headline, okay, so none of the, like if you could to the second newspaper, okay, so the frequency was 0, that means, okay, never it put any particular mental illness into a positive tone. Okay. Like if you analyze the author, okay, the professional authors was 0 in case of this particular newspaper, okay, and that is why, so they never put that particular issues of the mental illness in the positive tones. Okay. So, those are mostly done by the non-professional or the journalist. Okay. So, these things you may actually find out from the content analysis. This is the one of the simple way of doing the content analysis based on the words or keywords. Okay. So, this can be done for the theme, this can be done for the item also. So, now though content analysis have a number of advantages, like I discussed about that in not to have the willingness or need not to be concerned with the willingness of the respondent. Okay. So, it may be the less amount of the biased or subjective bias may be there, but it also have a number of limitation also. Okay. The first limitation is that mostly the content analysis are devoid of the theoretical base. Okay. And also you will find out that there is a chance of the drawing of causal relationship between draw inferences about the causal relationship between the variable by using content analysis, which may be not totally valid. Okay. Second is that content analysis by its nature, it is reductive in nature. Okay. So, especially it do not capture the complexity of the whole article, okay, because mostly it disregard the concept, okay, or it disregard the context at which this article was produced or the context where in which the article is related with. Okay, so, that is one of the important theoretical limitation of the content analysis. And lastly, that most of the content analytical methods or the research with the content analysis that excessively dependent on the word frequency count. Okay. So, there may be other methods may be developed or may be used to improve the reliability and validity of the content analysis method or applicability of the result of the content analysis. So, next technique in the data collection and observation is the semantic differential. Okay. So, semantic differential again it is a different kind of technique, okay, which is meant for, okay, to measure the connotative meaning of the concept in a imaginary semantic space. Means till now whatever we are talking about, we are talking about the measuring the individual on different psychological aspect. So, here instead of directly measuring the individual, we are trying to measure the individual based on their perception of the meaning. So, connotative meanings means it is the psychological meaning. Okay. So, there are denotative meaning. Denotative meaning simply means that it is based on the object or their existence of the object in the reality. Okay. Connotative meaning, it is on the other hand, it is the meaning which is colored by our perception, which is colored by our feelings. Okay. So, that is the connotative meaning. Okay. So, now how we perceive meaning to the different adjective pairs, okay, how we perceive the meaning for how we perceive the meaning of different concept. Okay. So, that can also be, and putting it in a scale which is comprised of a set of adjective pairs, we can actually find out the psychological position of a particular person. So, this is the techniques from layman's point of view what we call the semantic differential. Okay. So, that means semantic differential it used to measure the psychological meaning of the concept, and how it is being done? It is done by using a set of adjective pairs. Okay. Like here in the example, okay, maybe you are trying to find the meaning of the word or a construct that is or object like Democratic Party. Okay. In USA there are Republican Party is there, Democratic Party is there. Okay. So, how Democratic Party is, what is the meaning or what is the feeling of the people about Democratic Party? Okay, you can measure these particular things, okay, by using a set of adjective pairs. What are the adjective pairs? Like bad or good, cruel, kind, unpleasant, pleasant. Okay. So, those are the bipolar, we call the bipolar adjective pair. One is the positive in meaning, another is the negative in meaning. Okay. The originator of this particular process, that is Osgood. Okay. So, he used the 7-point scale which distance between which differentiate between these two bipolar adjective pair, and this bipolar adjective pair generally help the researcher to find out the underlying factors empirically. Okay. So, now Osgood, who is the originator of this method, okay, he himself identified 3 factors which are responsible for the differential performance or differential meaning of a particular object or construct in this using this bipolar objective on the 7-point scale. Okay. What are those particular underlying factors? Okay. So, these underlying factors, as I told, okay, those are basically measured or find out empirically. Okay. And each scale basically measured, okay, 1 or 2 dimension of these underlying factors, okay, as Osgood pointed out. Okay. Means the bipolar adjective are again measured on this imaginary space of or space created by the 2 different factors like the evaluation and potency. Okay. So, I was talking about the 3 underlying factor which was identified the Osgood. Okay. So, he identified the 3 underlying factor as evaluation, potency and activity. Means each of these bipolar objective or each of this particular concept, okay, which is again measured by a set of bipolar objective that can be measured on a semantic space created by this particular dimension. Okay. Like evaluation include the bipolar adjective like good, bad, beautiful, ugly, clean, dirty, or potency means it involves the bipolar adjective like large, small, strong, weak, or activity involve the bipolar adjective like sharp, dull, fast, etc. Okay. So, other researcher like the Osgood identified these 3 underlying dimension, okay, on which these meanings are measured. Okay. So, other researcher also identified a number of other dimension also. Okay. Worth mentioning here is that like warmth, novelty, reality, tauntness, okay, these can also be underlying factors of the different meaning of the a particular concept in the semantic spaces. Okay. So, now this semantic differential is actually little bit a complex process of measuring the meaning, but and also it is the statistical analysis which involved in the or statistical process which may be used in the analysis, those are also limited. Okay. So, but apart from that, the use of the semantic differential has a one important limitation, that is the response set bias. So, response set bias basically operate whenever a rating scale involved. Okay. And in the process of the analysis, okay, generally in the semantic differential you can because the most of our in the research we always concerned about the source of the variances, okay, or we try to analyze the variances. Okay. So, the source of the variance may be from the three different sources, okay, apart from the error. Okay. So, what are these sources? So, that is the variances may be due to the different meaning of the concept, okay. It may be different meaning of the scales, and it may be from the subject itself who actually used to rate the concept using this bipolar adjective pair into the different semantic spaces. Okay. So, now what about the analysis? I told that this most of the statistical technique, okay, the semantic differential, okay, the statistical techniques are limited. Okay. So, the general correlation coefficient are not suitable for use with the semantic differential. Instead of that, okay, one of the suggested method is the use of the distance cluster analysis, okay, to find out because here we are talking about an two dimensional space created by the different factors. Okay. So, in that particular spaces, to find out the distance between the different concept in terms of meaning, okay, this distance cluster analysis is much more suitable. So, the last technique we will talk about in today's class is the Q-sort methodology. Okay. So, firstly we talk about the content analysis, that is again the analysis of the communication, okay, or measuring the variable based on the analyzing the communications. Okay. Secondly, we talk about the semantic differential, okay, which try to measure the psychological meaning of the concept based on the opinion of the respondent on a bipolar adjective scale, which is again put in a 7-point scale and measured in a 2 dimension using the different dimension, okay, at least 1 or maybe 2 dimension, okay, that may be the evaluation potency, which may be the underlying factor, and these dimension are generally constructed empirically or find out empirically. Okay. So, the next method is the Q methodology. So, what happened in case of the Q methodology? Okay. So, here in case of the Q methodology we use a number of cards, okay, where each of the cards generally contain a phrase, maybe a picture, okay, maybe a numbers, and we use these cards or we ask the respondent to arrange these cards, okay, based on that particular perception. Okay. So, here in the Q methodology the respondents, so the respondents are generally presented with a sample of statement about some topic, okay, and these statements are written, it may be statement, it may be picture, or it may be other form. Okay. So, it is written on a set of cards, we call them the Q set, okay, and the respondent who are called the P set, okay, they are asked to rank order these particular cards, okay, from their individual point of view according to certain preference or judgment or feeling about them. Okay. And these individual rankings are then subjected to the different form of the analysis. Okay. It may be subjected to the correlation analysis, but as it is involve the rank order, that means the normal product Pearson product moment correlation is not suitable. So, instead of that you have to use the Spearman rank correlation method, or maybe the factor analysis may also be used. Okay. So, the first aspect in the Q-sort technique is that designing of this card. Okay. So, that involve the collection of the statements or collection of the stimuli which need to be printed on this particular card, which are directed towards the measurement of the individual. Okay. And after you find out this particular cards, the next step generally involve asking your respondent to arrange this particular card, okay, from a pack of randomly numbered cards. Okay. Generally Q-sort technique involves 60 to 120 cards. Okay. So, card more than that generally add on the error part of this particular technique. The Q set which are involved in the Q-sort techniques, okay. So, these cards are generally given to the respondent in a unstructured way, okay, or in the random way, and the respondent are asked to sort this card according to the instruction. Okay. For sorting of the cards, the respondents are generally provided a scale, okay, which may be look like this type, okay, and which generally ranging from the most disagreed to the most agreed items, okay, and you need to put the cards into based on your opinion about the phrases or the statement which is written on this particular card, okay. And after you get the sorting data of all the respondent, you generally, as I already told, okay, so you used any type any particular statistical technique that is suitable for the analysis of this the Q-sort data. And by using the correlation analysis or like the factor analysis, okay, so you generally find out the similarities or differences on the viewpoint among the respondent on a particular subject, okay. So, but the use of the Q methodology in the social and behavioral research, okay, you will find out because of the complexity of these methods, you will find the limited application this Q methodology and SD. Though content analysis is widely used, okay, for the analyzing the communication of the different great personalities as well as the different the media aspect, okay. But for before using the Q methodology, okay, you should remember one fact that the Q methodology or Q-sort techniques is basically an ipsative techniques. That means the independence of the items is not guaranteed in case the Q method or the data which is generated by the Q-sort techniques, those are not independent in nature. So, whenever your data is not independent in nature, so the most of the statistical technique, okay, those are the not particularly suitable for this Q-sort data, okay. So, that is the one of the limitation of the Q-sort techniques. So, in conclusion, today we have a discussion on the three important, but rather little bit different techniques of the observation or the data collection, okay, that is content analysis, Q-sort technique and semantic differential. So, as always, okay, you can go through this particular book for further knowledge on these particular topics, and also, okay, so for more clarification on the content analysis, okay, you can look into this interesting article, link of which I mentioned below in the last of the references. So, with this we will conclude our today's lecture, and thank you.